All right, it's 7 o'clock and you're here, so that means we can start. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to those people watching from afar. My name is Hemistra, and I'm the Chair of Council, so I get the pleasure of leading this evening. What I'd like to do is open with a devotional, and this devotional is from Isaiah 43, 18 to 19. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. God is not stagnant. He is constantly moving and creating. We too must be open to new ideas, new opportunities, and new paths. Sometimes the most valuable lessons are learned when we step outside our comfort zones and we embrace the unknown. This verse encourages us to forget the former things and not dwell on the past mistakes or failures. But this doesn't mean that we should ignore our church's history, but rather we should learn from it and move forward with hope and optimism. This verse reminds us that God's doing a new thing. This is a powerful reminder that we are not alone in our journey and that God is actively working in our lives and the life of our church, our community, to bring about positive change. God is constantly creating new things. So should we embrace fresh ideas, new perspectives, and new ways of approaching challenges and opportunities? Do we need to be open to the possibility of renewal, be open to new experiences, welcoming new people and new perspectives, embracing the possibility of spiritual growth and transformation here in Aylmer? I'd like to open with the word of prayer. Lord, we meet here this evening as a congregation. Help us to embrace thoughts and ideas and concepts with an open heart. Help us to trust in the new things that you do. May we be a vessel of your creativity and a witness to your power. Help us to be a welcoming community, a vibrant community, celebrating hope that we have in you. Shower us with your Spirit so that we might grow spiritually closer to you and serve one another as Christ came to serve. Please be with us this evening as we meet. Help us to listen, share, and speak openly tonight in true Christian community. Amen. So I'm just going to open the evening with some comments from the chair, and then we're going to have Janine. She'll come and share the work that's been done by the Strategic Planning Committee. So for the past 75 years, our church has positively impacted many lives. We've walked alongside people in their joys and in their struggles. We've offered hope and served faithfully. And yet, in recent years, we've noticed something different. Our membership is subsiding. Deep down, each one of us may have a little sense that if we don't alter the course, our church could quietly fade into just a whisper of what it once was. But we still believe, we must believe, that God has called us to be a light on a hill. Our name proudly suggests that we are a reformed church. But are we reforming our mission, our structure, and our outreach to continue to be relevant and sustainable for the next generation? We have a rich history and a strong tradition of managing the annual rhythms of church life. We go through budgets, services, events, membership meetings, but maybe we've spent more time maintaining than imagining. Maybe we've planned 1 year ahead at a time when maybe we should have been looking out 20 years. Our town is growing, and with some intention, our church can grow too. Over the past year, a dedicated team of 9 members have been prayerfully and thoughtfully working on a strategic plan. Both with your input, they've been identifying some of the weaker areas in our church life and imagining how we might strengthen them. Some of your priorities were recorded in the fall as you voted with your dots and shared comments. Tonight, Janine will be sharing a short progress report, and you'll hear from the building committee too. These are all pivotal moments, exciting moments. This evening isn't just about information. It's about listening, about dreaming and preparing our hearts. Israel wandered for 40 years before entering a new land. We too must prepare our minds, our space, and our spirits for God, for the people that God is preparing to send to us. And speaking of which, some of those new faces might be here amongst you this evening. So let's all be on our best behavior. Tonight's a chance for you to listen, learn, and ask questions. At the round tables, you're going to discuss ideas and share your thoughts. There's going to be a wall with a poster, and you can share your comments on sticky notes. Every voice here matters. Young, old, you name it. To be clear, no decisions are going to be made tonight. Instead, we hope that you leave more informed and that you can return home to reflect, pray, and consider the path forward. Because this is church. It's our church, and we cannot be passive. We must be spiritually active, attentive, and open to God's leading. It's going to be a great night, so let's open our hearts and our hopeful spirits and enter into it. So at this time, I'd like to invite Janine to represent the planning committee.
Good evening, everyone. So I have been asked to share an update from the Strategic Planning Committee. But before I do that, I want to share my personal testimony about vision and strategic planning since I've been on this journey since 2017. I've always been an advocate for having a clear vision and a plan, not because I think we have all the answers, but because I believe it aligns with biblical principles. Proverbs 16 verse 3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." That verse has been a guiding truth for me, and I have seen it play out in so many ways in our church. And I'm going to share 3 examples, but there are so many others, and I'm sure if you've talked to anyone who has been part of this journey, they would have their own testimonial too. One example that stands out is our outreach strategy. When we started planning, the goal was to find ways to serve our community while also making our church more visible as a place of hope and service. We laid out ideas, we set a direction, and then God took over. And that's when Super Sunday happened. Not because we forced it, but because God created the opportunity through the foundation we had set. It was a reminder to me that when we are faithful in planning, God is faithful in bringing those plans to life in ways beyond what we could imagine. I've seen the same thing happen with our building renewal project. It's been years in the making, and there were times when it felt like delay after delay. But looking back now, I realize those delays were part of God's timing. In fact, what seemed like a detour has actually brought us into closer alignment with our strategic planning. Even though we were working on these things in parallel, it's becoming clear that this process is confirming the direction of our strategic plan, especially our emphasis on renewal, refresh, and reimagining how our spaces flow and function. We've shifted from thinking about a brand new build to a thoughtful renovation that honors where we've been while making space for what's next. And instead of rushing to a vote, tonight we're taking the time to listen, gather feedback, and strengthen the process. I truly believe God has used the delay to bring clarity, unity, and purpose to what we're building, both physically and spiritually. And then there's our small group ministry. We worked on it for years, knowing how important it was to create deeper connections within our church. And when we finally launched again in January, after several years, we had no idea that God had a specific purpose in mind for that season. As our church faces an unexpected season of grief, our small groups provided a space to support one another in ways we had not planned. And that's when it hit me. This is what happens when we make plans and trust God with the details. He doesn't just make things happen, he makes them happen at the right time, in the right way, and for the right reasons. So this is why I believe so strongly in visioning. It's not about control, it's about faith. We plan because we trust that God is leading us somewhere, and then we step back and allow him to do the work. Over and over again, I have seen that when we seek his direction, prepare with wisdom, and move forward in faith, he takes those plans and turns them something into far greater than we had ever expected. As we reflect on God's hand in our visioning journey, it's a good time to also look ahead, because this process is all about creating space for more stories like this to unfold. So now let me shift gears and provide an update on where we are in that process and how we believe God is leading us forward. I want to begin by sharing the results of our ministry priority exercise. That is the one that has the yellow on it. Do you have that slide? Oh, no problem. So this is the exercise which our congregation participated in during our last congregational meeting in November of 2024. So this was a chance for us to collectively discern where God is leading us as a church in 4 key areas of focus. We're talking about building and renewal, community outreach and service, youth engagement, and worship. So from here you can see worship was the highest ranked priority with the most first place votes. Your feedback highlighted a strong desire for meaningful Christ-centered worship that engages all generations. Suggestions included adding a worship director, encouraging congregational participation, and ensuring our sound and technology serve the entire worship space well. A common theme was balancing contemporary music with hymns while fostering an atmosphere that welcomes all. Youth engagement ranked second. This is investing in our next generation, so showing our deep commitment to keeping young people connected to the church. Many expressed the need for a youth leader to actively support and encourage youth participation in worship and service. You also emphasized the importance of creating regular opportunities for youth fellowship, retaining young families, and fostering intergenerational connections. Third was community outreach and service, so extending our mission. Outreach is a core part of who we are, and you confirmed that we must continue investing in this area. Many wanted to see ongoing support for programs like Super Sunday, GEMS, Cadets, Friendship, and Coffee Break, while also creating new ways to engage our community. There is a strong desire to ensure our outreach efforts remain relevant and impactful, including intergenerational service projects and increased accessibility for all. Building and renovation, a more welcoming space. While ranked lower overall, building improvements remain important. Many of you highlighted the need for a welcoming, accessible entrance with a canopy and gathering space. Acoustic improvements, affordability, and ensuring our facilities serve all special needs were also common themes. This exercise has given us valuable insights into where we should focus our energy and resources. Worship, youth engagement, outreach, and building improvements are all interconnected. Strengthening one area benefits the others. Just this past weekend, our Strategic Planning Committee took another step forward. We revisited our 4 original ministry priorities and conducted blue sky sessions with our consultant, Darren Rorda, to dream about where we can take each area. It's one thing to know where we want to go, but now we're starting to map out how to get there. You can go to the next slide, Mavis. Whether it's clarifying leadership needs, proposing new outreach ideas, or refining our worship approach, we're beginning to turn ideas into tangible plans. As our discussions have evolved, so has our understanding of what it will take to pursue ministry with excellence and faithfulness in this season. And we're now organizing our work around 6 priorities that will guide our steps forward. This is just a draft version since we just got together over the weekend, but it'll give you a sense of where we're headed. So if we go to the next slide, this one is about welcoming community. So the 2 areas are focusing on care groups that grow and serve. We want to strengthen our care groups as places of discipleship, care, and service, where relationships will flourish and faith will deepen. Secondly, we want a building space that works. We want to make sure our physical space supports our mission, is welcoming and functional, and can flex to meet evolving needs. Next slide. This one's about spiritual growth. So for connecting youth, we want to prioritize meaningful connection with the next generation through relevant programs, mentorship, and spiritual formation. We also want to consider fresh approaches, embracing creativity and openness to change as we seek new ways to engage both our church family and the wider community. The next one. This is on celebrating hope. So for worship excellence, we want to create worship experiences that are spiritually rich, engaging, and accessible for all, with attention to both content and presentation. And lastly, we want a unified ministry strategy. We want to ensure that all areas of ministry are working together towards shared goals with clear communication and alignment. Each of these priorities is rooted in our calling as a church and our vision to be a welcoming, inclusive community where hope in Christ is celebrated and shared. With God's guidance, we're moving from vision to action, and we look forward to sharing more with you as this work unfolds. Tonight, you'll see one example of that as we move into the next part of our evening, a presentation on our building renewal proposal, a key piece of creating a more and welcoming and accessible space for ministry. We want to thank you for participating in this process. We thank you for your prayers. We thank you for your thoughtful feedback.
Okay, thanks, Janine. And at this point, we're going to transition with the presentations into the building committee's work. And if you are at the back and you didn't know, the pictures are quite small, so you're welcome to come forward if you really want to get a good view. But otherwise, it will be online, so you can go home and look at it there. Plus, we'll have some kind of schematics of the layout that you'll be able to take home that Teresa has printed off. The purpose of the presentation in this area is basically asking questions and seeking clarity. We'd like to do the comments and the discussion over on that side at the roundtables, and that'll give us a chance to record everybody's thoughts. So if you can just keep it to questions in this part for Dan. Dan's going to go through his presentation, and then he's going to open it up for questions, and he'll be helped with John. John is going to make sure that we can jump to whatever slide that you have a question about, and so does that sound good, Dan? All right, we'll take it away. Thanks.
Welcome, everybody. My name's Dan Dyxhoorn, if you don't know who I am. I hope this isn't the main event. Anyways, can we get those lights off on the stage? Thank you. Investing in our future, a vision for welcoming and renewal. Can I get that and move to slide 2? Here's just a little bit of a timeline. Committee was formed summer of 2023. We started meetings. In November, we surveyed council. In January, we surveyed the congregation. Out of those surveys came a lot of feedback for the building committee. And that's kind of where we started really putting everything together after our brainstorming and the surveys. March, we hired A-Link Architecture. They are out of London, and they helped us kind of come up with this concept design that we are presenting to you guys tonight. April 24, we got together with some of the affected groups of this concept and tried to provide solutions for them. 2024, in September, our first design came. Fine-tuning, and then we needed to come up with a Class D estimate. Now, a Class D estimate is not a tendered process, and it's very vague. We met with some representatives from Graceview to do this. When we show you the price, you must remember we priced a car. We didn't tell them if we were putting power windows in that car. We didn't tell them if it was cloth seats, leather seats. We didn't tell them if it was electric or gas. So it's a very, kind of covers all the bases. As we fine tune the price and it goes to a tendering process, the price will change. That price includes contingencies. That price includes permits. It's just that's what a Class D pricing is. February and March, received some updates. Actually, in March, we presented this to council, and that brings us to today. Also, the colors might not be what you guys want, so it's a concept. Okay, here, out of the surveys, we got 5 main renovation goals. Create a clear main entrance, create a welcoming space, integrate a family washroom, add a wheelchair accessible solution for the stage, and create more multi-purpose spaces for programs, groups, and events. So, I'm going to ask to move to the next slide, and actually what we're going to do here is we're going to split the presentation. I am going to leave the floor plan on the right, so as I present something, I can refer back to the floor plan so you know which area I am talking about. So on this floor plan, you're going to see a couple different colors. Okay? A blue is brand new construction. A purple space down here, the old stage, the new stage, that's going to be renovation. The yellow is refresh. Okay, we'll talk about all these spaces. White along classrooms and along the back side of this addition is unchanged. Okay, if I can get, is this screen going to come alive? So there's phases to this project. These phases can be done simultaneously or can be done separately. We kind of put it into two phases: new entrance, new welcome area, family washroom, multi-purpose room. Sanctuary phase would involve flipping the sanctuary, making a wheelchair accessible lift, and some storage areas in this church. I'll go to the next slide, please. So this is kind of the concept that we have come up with. Here would be our new construction. This is the existing overflow wall. We would remove the stage, put glass doors in there, and have a drive-beside canopy. So the canopy would allow people, 2 vehicles to park here and unload under a roof. This is an overhang that comes out from the glass. This area along the front side, I'll go to the next slide, please. This area along the front side here would be all the same height as the parking lot, so there would be no restrictions for anybody that has accessibility issues. Next slide, please. The main entrance, the number one comment that we get is there's 4 entrances to this church, and when we have new people here, they don't know which one to go to. The entrances that we have are not great assistance areas for people with extra needs, and there's nowhere for them to get away from the elements. The solution we came with is remove the stage, remove the wall at the end of the building, add lots of light for the entry, an overhang there for drop-off, and an entrance door facing the parking lot, which would be the southeast direction, if we're going to get technical about it. So here we would suggest some arrows for dropping off, so we don't have congestion here, but it just allows everybody to walk in one central door. They know where the front entrance of the church is. Just another photo. Here you can see that overhang and what it kind of looks like if you pull up beside. Welcome area. Kind of touching about this, but we're just going to talk about the flow of the church. We have no clear area for new people to come. There's some sound issues in our existing overflow. We want to address some of the acoustics and some of the lighting in that area. And we want to make it more welcoming, more natural, and create a way for people to come in and out of the church. I'm going to show some pictures of that now. So this would be the view from basically where I'm standing now, looking out towards the parking lot. As you can see, we have some acoustic panels on the top. The flooring would change. There'd be something done with the block walls to make things a little softer, and some new lighting. Okay, you still have your kitchenette there, still right there. Oh, now it's right there. You have your doors over here that kind of still go to the existing hallway, and we'd like to open this up a little bit more for the washrooms in the nursery. As we're walking into church, this is what you would kind of potentially see. I'll go to the next slide, please. Here's just another view of it. And then here you can see that we've kind of got that opened up a little bit more. And here we're walking into what would now be the back of the sanctuary. Here's just a little sitting area, something that's cozy. People want to have meetings there, small groups, anything. This is just a nice little meeting area inside the church. Next slide, please. So here's kind of the entry, what the sanctuary could look like. There's different options. This option here shows one screen. We'll have another option with another screen. And we're going to have some challenges to deal with. This also displays where we're kind of suggesting to put the lift for a wheelchair. When walking into the church, because we have chairs now, we can do different options. We can split the chairs down the center. We can have a center aisle. We can kind of go with the traditional way that we're doing it. It doesn't really matter, but we have options at this point. I'll go to the next slide, please. Here's another picture of the sanctuary of what it could look like. This wall right now is right there because we need access on top of that organ area. So there's actually stairs hidden in behind here. That wall can be kind of multi-purpose a little bit. People can come out from presenting from there, or gives a backdrop for the pastor, and the organ pipes are still in this concept with 2 screens on each side. Okay. Yeah, that kind of explains the sanctuary. I'm sure there's going to be questions on it. I'll go to the next slide, please. We're going to go into some multi-purpose spaces. So this right here on this side is the existing youth room. Okay? We're suggesting to expand the existing youth room because it's too small and we want to be able to use it for a bunch of different uses. We are suggesting removing this hallway that's here and incorporating this all into one room. This area can be used for friendship, could be used for council meetings, could be used for youth group, could be used for meetings before certain events, whatever. Next slide should show a picture of, it shows the affected area, and then it's going to show what that room could potentially look like on the next slide. Right now we've left the doors in there because they're there. So just an idea, and that is, again, this area right here. Okay, next slide, please. When we met with the youth group, they were kind of okay with meeting everywhere. They kind of were open to the idea of just meeting in the welcome area, in the new youth room. They seemed very fluid in where they want to meet and what they wanted to do that night. Next slide, please. Storage areas. Number one thing that everybody says is we don't have no storage in this church. We've come up with a couple solutions. First of all, if we remove this stage, we lose a storage room here, we lose the cadets area and storage down here. We're suggesting leaving this storage or this classroom right here and turning it into a storage area. Tables and chairs and everything can be in that room. Okay, next slide is going to also, this storage area is still here. It'd be unchanged. We'd have to move the door. With turning the sanctuary, we're suggesting to turning this whole front hallway into storage and meeting space. So it's actually quite a big area when you go look up there. The doors are required to stay. We can't have dead-end hallways. It does leave points for people to still leave church, but we still have additional spaces that we've created when we've lost some down here. Next slide, please. The cadets. We offered the cadets this whole front hallway. They want this room. Which does make the most sense. There's a sink there. They can lock their tools in there. The mess can kind of stay in there. There's kind of a hallway corridor. Looking at it, it really made a lot of sense from the building committee. And the council had a bigger space over here to meet and turning that more into a meeting area. Or you can meet in this soft area up here. Okay. Next slide, please. Family washroom. We're proposing to put a family washroom right now in part of the library. So as some of you may know, already part of this is blocked off. By adding a family washroom in here, it's the closest to plumbing, and it kind of works with the existing washroom on the other side. So this would be a proposed family washroom spot. Next slide, please. Library is affected. So part of the library will still be here. Our biggest suggestion to this is to utilize the library space better. Maybe have some rolling carts. We can still use as a library. We could maybe make this a new library, but maybe have rolling carts come out into our welcome area where we're actually promoting the literature that we have. If we don't go into the library, we're not exposed to it. Let's bring the library out to the people. Yeah, there's also a storage room here that could be library. Next slide, please. This is the one that everyone gets excited about. Okay, there's 2 stages or phases here. This is what our Class D pricing has kind of given us as an estimate price. Please remember how that estimate price was created. Next slide, please. Drive-through canopy. The rules around drive-through canopies have changed. They now need to be higher than 16 feet 4 inches, 5 meters for fire trucks. At that height, they become very large and obnoxious, and they're not actually suiting the whole purpose that we need it to do. And rough estimate costs are $200 per square foot, putting a drive-through canopy on top of that price on the previous page. So with our previous drawings that we've shown, we've tried to go away from the drive-through canopy. We've tried to showcase what something else could look like. It's been suggested that our greeters could maybe wait at the front doors and help and assist people instead of putting in a drive-through canopy. Okay, there is some pictures of it. Right now, we have placed the drive-through canopy right here, kind of back a little bit, so that we're not affecting the natural light. Obviously, if everybody wants a drive-over canopy, we're going to have to do something a little bit better than that. Okay, I'll get another picture of that. And there's another look of what that drive-in canopy can look like. So if you compare drive-in canopy compared to kind of the drive-beside canopy, that kind of gives you a good visual. And that is the end of my presentation. And I'm sure there's questions.
All right, that's perfect. So thanks, Dan, and everybody applauded for you, so that means you passed the test. Now the hard part is you're going to have to answer all the questions. John is here too, and so we're going to turn it over to the floor. We are going to try and record the questions with the microphone, and that way people that are at home watching will be able to hear the questions. So if you don't want to use the microphone, Dan will repeat it or I'll repeat it. And if you do want to use the microphone, there's one right over beside Steve, and then the other one is going to be right here or in my hand. I can run it up to you. So let the questions come. So please, I think Amanda, did you have one?
The slide before the overhang canopy, the D thing, the prices. I know everybody's going to freak out about the prices first. I'm sorry, I'm touching on it, but there was, I think, okay, it was farther back than I thought. Slide 29. Okay. That one. Okay, so is the 1.54 the top end, and then the 603,000 the low end, like, or is that one plus the other?
pays.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, who's next? Who's brave? Where?
I missed it. Was it the cost of just the drive-through overhang? Was it 48,000 or 480,000?
It's about $200 a square foot, depending on the size of the drive-through canopy. It could be like $225,000 to $480,000.
So basically, the canopy would be like the same height as a gas station canopy.
Yes, if you look at the overflow, be very close comparison.
So basically, it's not going to do anything for weather. If it's raining coming from the north, it's going to...
When we talked about this as a committee, it's the first thing to go when a budget is the issue.
Yeah, so like what I'm saying is basically, if it's windy out, you're still going to, when it's raining, half of it's going to get covered in anyway, right?
Yeah.
Or completely covered in snow.
So that's why we kind of tried to come up with an alternative that satisfied.
Yeah, I was just trying to put the height and everything kind of in perspective.
There's been a lot of comparison to other churches, and those churches are already built. So if we had to do something today, we have new rules.
All right, thanks, Gord, Chad, Amanda, for questions. Someone else must have a burning question on their heart. Chris? Yes. Al?
As far as the height goes, two things. I stopped at Keppel's, just out of curiosity. We all know what yours looks like. And then I also couldn't help but notice the URC, down the road too. layout. So that's just for information also.
All right, thank you, Al. I think we have a new member for the building committee. What do you guys think? See what happens when you share your comments? You join the committee. We're going to actually, so I didn't interrupt Al because he was in a real flow, but we are going to do the comments and the questions, record everything in the overflow. We really like to do just questions in here for Dan, and then we're going to go over there, and we'll do lots of commenting and sharing with each other.
Yeah, just to go on out saying, it doesn't make sense they would make it, have to be higher than 16.4, because saying a truck, transport truck, can't be any higher than 13.6, which applies to all Canadian federal standards. Bridges, microlines, all have to be at that level or higher. So why would they come with a 16.4, which is another 3 feet above what a truck would be? Fire trucks are gonna be higher than a transport truck.
I'll tell you what, the building committee can look at anything.
Okay, this is more of an aesthetics question, but when you're talking about screens for the back,
Yeah,
you're talking about potentially a single or a double.
yeah.
If you did a single, how would you work around the pipes? Is it like a pull-down screen?
There's going to be something that could be done either way. In these budgets that we've created, we've added quite a bit of room for AV spending. So AV would be audiovisual spending. It could retract. Our biggest issue if we turn the sanctuary, and remember the main reason we want to turn the sanctuary is for flow. Right now we have 4 exits to leave this building. We want everybody to come in the same entrance and leave the same entrance. The purpose of us doing the Welcoming Center is also to create a flow into the church. So we kind of, as a committee, put the two together so that it would work together. Our biggest challenge, the screens can be done with whatever, we have to do something with that stained glass.
Anybody near the back? Church is always the front people. Back church, question? Anybody? All right, thanks, Justin.
Question regarding, you kind of alluded to it when you hit on it, but that 603,000, I'm assuming, or how much of that budget will be for like AV tech stuff, and then things like piano, instrumentation, like.
There's quite an allocation. I can't tell you off the top of my head without pulling some of those notes in. And until actually getting an official quote, we can say, I can dare to say closer to 20% of that price is into doing something AV, lighting, projectors, something.
And then for like worship in terms of instrumentation and stuff like that.
There's going to be, if this happens, there's going to be a very big discussion with the building committee and the worship committee on how and what they'd like that stage to look like. Right now, we don't have any plans to move the organ or take down the pipes.
But like I'm just saying, like for example, kind of all the like pianos, but like for decent pianos, about $30,000 or $40,000, right? So.
Yeah, I'm not a professional magician. So
Don't want to get into this and say, oh, all of a sudden.
there is an allocation for it, and it can be fine-tuned as the concepts get approved.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
John had mentioned, to answer the question over there, John said that the AV was about 40,000.
I think it's more.
Okay, you guys are ready. Go ahead, Jeff, thanks.
You guys need to talk. Just curious, we're talking about renovation reinvestment. How does this fit into our facility capital reinvestment plan? Like the roof, if we need to replace the roof or parking lot or things like that?
very interesting. We've asked the same question as a committee. Right now, we've been asked to come up with the concept, the funding, and our additional maintenance that we have on this facility, I would assume would still kind of be something, two separate things, but I'm sure could be some discussions during a renovation as you bring in a contractor, as you bring in some more professionals, if we should deal with something else at the same time. Does that answer? Not, I mean, we have a 5 or 10 year plan, is what Jeff's saying. We haven't looked at anything like that. We've basically taken the recommendations that were given to us in our surveys and the brainstorming sessions that we had to kind of come up with this preliminary design. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, you should be working with BA and find out what they've got on their horizon.
That's part of the next phase.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just doing concept design and feedback there. How we fund and all that stuff will come later, if we get to that point.
Okay, does anybody else have a question? Yes, Elaine.
You mentioned that new area of the friendship. Our friendship group fills up pretty well the whole overflow now.
It would be even bigger without the stage.
Bigger?
Yes.
Without
the stage there.
I know that, but you said you would move friendship to this new area.
It's an option.
Okay, so we would still be able to be there as we normally do. Thank you.
Ralph, you got a question? You're really close to the microphone. No? Anybody else back here got a question? Yeah, Martin's got one? Okay.
Has any thought been given to, instead of going that way, go that way, and have the big room there with your doors on that side?
A lot of thought was given to that. Very expensive to go out the front. I can't recall, maybe John will be able to help me a little bit with that, but it was quite a bit different because everything's there and we're not doing any refresh.
Yeah, but you don't have to change the sanctuary then, because everything come in from the back, that would stay the same.
That's fine. You got to remember that sanctuary quote, to move the chairs doesn't cost very much. To move the stage from that end to that end doesn't cost very much. It's the refresh of everything.
And the windows?
And the windows. Those windows, I'm going to guess they're original.
It was also one about the flow. So flow from here, going in and then back out again.
Because we're still going to have people parking over there, right? We wanted to make a welcome center where everybody kind of came in together.
So parking lot's back there, then everybody would have to walk around the church to get in.
How you doing, Dan? The carport over there, does that change any of the entry points off of the corner of Calvary there? Is that, just saying, is that going to be congested or is that going to be a little more tighter?
No, can I get that one back on there, John? Number 6. Oh, I was going to give me that floor plan. Oh, it's on the other one here, sorry.
That's all right.
So this doorway is still here. Right? So that doorway is still right there?
Yep.
That doorway is still right there? And that doorway is still right
So
there.
the cars coming off of Calvary into
There would be,
the carport area,
I believe the general direction of traffic is
go to that picture
this
that
way.
has up there first with the canopy.
You'd come around,
Oh, okay.
drop off, and then go park.
Okay, so but if you came from the corner of South and Calvary in that way, or is it going to be directional traffic?
Directional traffic.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So, another thought, if we're changing the sanctuary, when we were in Holland, Michigan, Park Church had done a similar thing with their sanctuary, and when they did an overhang, and they actually had it flowing, that it was long ways, and the stage was up there, and that actually made the wheelchair ramp much more fluid, so it wasn't having to be lift. And then you still wouldn't have to move the organ or the sound booth and that kind of thing.
We've had a recommendation like that already, and that would be putting the stage along here. We will look at that as a building committee.
It worked
And
well.
that would go on your feedback in that session. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, second last call for questions in case you have. Nancy, great.
Okay, disability concerns hat. I would really be disappointed to see a major renovation without making the stage accessible rather than with a chair, a lift. And I know we've measured it out and it takes a long ramp to get up to the stage, even if it's only 4 steps. I would really like to be able to say to people, you can come and worship at our church and lead our services even if you are in a wheelchair without having to go through a lift.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before we move to the overflow? There's, as you can smell in the air, there's coffee, and they also have a table with some goodies set up. And so if there's no other questions, then we're going to ask you all to slide over to the overflow and grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea that the social committee organized. And you can find some friends at a table, and we'll explain what's going on over there once you get settled in to a place with your fluids and your refreshments. Thanks for all those questions, folks.